HE doesn't really work, but as you can see over here, you can get into a position pretty nicely, pretty fast, and then you can get a few shots in towards the enemy tanks. As you can see, the tank does aim decently well. It's not the fastest aiming tank, but if you're not moving too fast, then the good rate. And I tried to outflank this T-57. Unfortunately, I think that was a little bit optimistic from my side. He's one kill. I do manage to track him with the second shot, and now I fire once more. At least that worked. And now I just took out the object 452, the tank that people spent an arm and a leg. Hey guys, so today we're going to be talking about the STRV K, which was the first Swedish premium tank in the game at Tier 9 that would make you more credits and some bonds than the other tanks that were introduced through other events or other premium, let's say, tanks. But this was the first, let's say, special one, and it was through an event, and you could buy it through, or you could also spend some money to accelerate your progress, but I think it was also a free option at that point. I don't remember that well. So this tank is basically a heavium tank, which is basically it's kind of a fast heavy which acts like a medium, or a fast medium which acts like a heavy. Whatever you want to call it, this is the type of tank that this is. So it's a tank that does have enough mobility to actually rush into a position, and it does have the accuracy and the penetration to actually go reliably through other tanks. So it basically acts more like a medium than like a heavy tank. And correspondingly, the tank does have an 390 alpha damage with 252 standard pen with 310 premium pen. The HE doesn't really work, but as you can see over here, you can get into a position pretty nicely, pretty fast, and then you can get a few shots in towards the enemy tanks, and also do quite a bit of damage. It also uses the Swedish crew for heavy metal band crew that was with that event, and that's a really nice touch. And the tank does have a pretty strong turret, but the problem is that the lower part, so the hull of the tank, is pretty trash. So never expect that lower part to actually do anything other than get you from one side of the field to another side of the battlefield, because it's not gonna happen. You're not gonna bounce shots through it, you're not gonna do anything. However, you should use the gun depression that the tank does have, and the good accuracy to actually do quite a bit of damage. As you can see, the tank does aim decently well. It's not the fastest aiming tank, but if you're not moving too fast, then the good goodish rate of fire of the tank, and also the good accuracy and pen will allow you to do quite a bit of damage. The one thing that is not necessarily on par with other tanks or with the higher caliber is the fact that the DPM isn't all that great. It's around 2.5k, which for a heavy tank isn't necessarily the best. And taking into account the fact that you don't really have the armor, then yeah, that's not gonna it's not gonna impress anyone. It's not gonna make them scared of you, of having, let's say, 700 alpha or something like that. So it's a tank that it's more of a grinding tank, in which you have to play a little bit smart and use the reloads, and yeah, do a bit of damage to those enemies. Now after I got the first few shots towards the middle of the map, and yeah, just prevented the guys to, or enacted attacks from the guys that wanted to get into this position, as you can see, our team is winning quite hard, because their lights were a little bit worse than mine, or than our teams. So now I'm just going to this side and providing a little bit of support, because the one thing that theoretically the enemies could do is try to win this flank on this side, but as you can see, they're a little bit scared of this Badger, which is in the perfect position for a Badger. So the only way that they managed to do a bit of damage to him was just firing some HE, and at the right rate of fire that object 452 heavy or K has, is gonna take quite a little bit of time. The tank is not invulnerable, so as you saw, I just took two big damaging hits with APCRs from the Skoda and objects 452, but I also bounced quite a number of shots in this position. So the turret is strong, but it's not necessarily overpowered or anything like that. And like I said, the hull is trash. So you need to take into account this into the tank, and when possible, you can actually think about flanking. So the tank has, like I said, enough mobility to guide you through the battlefield. And as you'll see in this game, I'm not using any kind of premium ammo, so it will make a little bit of profit. Because, like I said, it does have that status as a true premium tank. And I tried to outflank this T-57. Unfortunately, I think that was a little bit optimistic from my side, because this T-57 does want to come and get me, because he knows that his team is pretty much gonna lose. And he wanted just to have one kill. I do manage to track him with the second shot, and now I fire once more. I get one shot in, and unfortunately he does get another shot towards me. So, well, at least that worked. And now I just took out the object 452, the tank that people spent an arm and a leg to actually try and get, and I think that kind of shows the fact that even if when you're playing with the full gold, full everything with your trophy tank, it's not really that great. I don't know. It doesn't seem to me that great. It can work in some positions, but it's definitely not the best tank ever. So in the STRV K, as you just saw, with a bit of luck from blowing up the 452. I'm actually at 4.8k damage, and yeah, it was pretty enjoyable so far, and now I'm just trying to figure out if I can get at least one more shot in. I do fire one shot, I get another time lucky, so the second time's the charm, and I also track the guy, and I get quite a little bit of tracking assistance. So as you just saw, the STRV K, I think it's a good tank. It's a tank that will make some bonds. You can play it quite a little bit. It does have the Swedish crew, so it's pretty nice. On that side, the accurate gun will mean that you're gonna be most of the time hitting your shots, and I think it's tire 9, so it's more enjoyable than other tires. And yeah, as long as you don't expect the tank to actually do impossible things, you're gonna be pleasantly surprised. If you take a look at the hits that actually penned this tank, there were 3 hits that I saw, and those were over here, so firing gold directly into this side just below the mantlet, which I think it's more or less impenetrable. This actually was a pen. On this side, which is just below the turret ring, which was another pen. And this, when I actually turned, I think, the tank just a little bit too much, and I took another shot. Other than that, the tank held pretty nicely, so I can't argue that. And yeah, it actually bounced a few shots, and the good qualities of the tank make it that even though the enemies only fired skill ammo, it still worked, and it worked pretty nicely. So yeah, I think let's go for the final game stats, and then we'll wrap up the video. So as you just saw, this game was 5k damage in the STRV K, which allowed me to finish top on damage and also top on experience in a tier 10 game, which was pretty hard fought actually. I shot 17 shots, I hit 15, and 10 of those were pens. And due to the fact that I didn't fire any kind of premium ammo, that netted me a profit of almost 100k without any kind of bones or anything like that, so it's pure profit over here. I did manage to score 2 kills, and it was a pretty decent battle. Now let's talk a little bit about the STRV K. The STRV K is the Rocker tank. So this tank is inspired by the rock band from Sweden. Pretty sure that they're pretty cool and pretty well known in Sweden. This tank does have a pretty standard 390 average damage per minute, kind of a medium tank gun. So this would be more likely seen on a Leopard tank, in a E50M, in a Centurion Mark 1. This is the type of gun which you would see over there. And actually, if I take a look over here, it's the 10.5 centimeter, the L52. So it's basically the L51, L52. It's the same kind of gun. This does have 252 penetration, which is pretty good for Tier 9. And 310 if you need a bit more punch to grow through super heavies. Dispersion is good on the tank, surprisingly for a heavy, but due to the fact that it's a heavy with a good rate of fire and a small caliber gun, it usually is like this. And you can get the aim time to a comfortable level of around 2.3 seconds. Although if you take a look at higher distances, when you're putting this tank on the move, you're gonna notice the fact that it takes a bit of time to actually properly aim. So it takes around 3 seconds to properly aim until the reticle goes down from a huge bloom. The dispersion though is excellent, 0.29, and you do get 10 degrees of gun depression, which is great, and you also get 9.3 second gun loading. The tank doesn't really have any kind of armor, unfortunately. It's a heavy, but it's a heavium. It's a kind of a mix between a heavy and a medium tank. It does have a strong turret, but that's about it. And you also have a weak point on the turret, and the cheeks aren't necessarily well armored. And the turret ring is pretty easily penable. So this tank is more or less all about the gun. But the gun is good. The gun is good, and as you just saw, it works pretty nicely. The weight limit is basically a medium tank kind of load over here, at least for the German standards. The top speed is okay, 44. I prefer to use a turbo just to increase it a little bit. I also use vents and a gun rammer to make the tank a little bit better when firing. You also get enough view range to actually not need to use coated optics, and you can improve it with this good crew. On the field mode side, I'm using the speed increase, I'm using the aim circle size reduction, the aim speed. It's a debate over here. On the one hand, when I'm firing at longer ranges, I would like the gun to aim a little bit faster, but on the other side, if you're aiming at higher distances, then the extra accuracy might be a little bit better. The view range is also what I'm going for, because RT is a non-factor lately. And also you get top, I also like to increase the mobility. So it's all about the mobility and the gun, this build of mine. And as you can see, I selected the firepower as the category over here. Yeah, there's no concealment rating. The accuracy of the gun makes it so that you don't really need the extra pen, because you can aim for weak spots pretty reliably. The main issue with this type of gun is that you do have enough mobility to get yourself into trouble, but not out of it. And also, when you're firing with against tanks with higher alpha, then your armor is not gonna save you, your mobility is not gonna save you, and you need to have some friends around. So it's more of a support heavy tank, but it's really good at what it does. So it's a tank that I do enjoy pretty much. Now, yeah, I think that about covers the tank. So thanks a lot, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye now.